Hello, my name is Pat Doobie, and I teach math at North Shore Community College.
And in this video, we do some more advanced problems with applied percentages. We're going to talk about calculating the final amount you have to pay, or the final cost, or the final amount you make, as opposed to just the amount of the discount. We're going to talk about discounts and sales first. The amount of a discount or percent off sale gets subtracted from the original cost, but we can also solve these using a proportion. Usually in these problems you're looking for the total amount, and you must read the words carefully as to whether you're being asked for how much do you save or how much do you pay. That makes a difference as to what you use for the percentage number. So here's an example. If you watched the prior video on applied percent problems, this looks familiar, but it's not quite the same. Sweaters are on sale for 20% off of original price. If the original price of the sweater is $40, how much does the sweater cost during the sale? Before, we just asked you to find out how much you saved. So you would use 20%. You'd use 20 for your P. But what you're really using for P in these problems is the 100 minus 20% off. So when we solve this problem, our P becomes 80. So we have A over B, amount over base. Well, what's our base? Well, we're going to know the amount we're going to pay. The amount we're going to pay goes with the 80. The amount is 80%, the base was 100%, so the base was the 40. And again, I would expect the amount I pay if something's on sale to be less than the original. And over here I have 80 is less than the 100. If the smaller number is on top on the P over 100 side, the smaller number should be on top on the other side also. That's a way to do a little bit of a sanity check on your proportion before you solve it. So when I cross multiply, I get 100A equals 40 times 80. That's 100A equals 3,200. And I can cross out this zero with this zero with this zero, and I get A equals 32. So the amount I will pay for the sweater is $32. When we did this problem in the prior video, we asked you to find how much you save, and that answer was $8. It makes sense that if you save $8 and the original was 40, the other way to look at this is you find out how much you're saving, do 40 minus 8 is 32. But you can set these up in proportions. The key to it is making sure you use the right number for P. It's not simply the number with the percent after it. You have to decide whether you have to subtract that from 100 or add that to 100 when you set up the proportion. Taxes, tips, and commissions. These are usually things that are added to the original cost, or the original bill, or the original amount of payment. They can be solved using a proportion. You usually solve for the amount, and you have to read the words carefully. We will do a couple at the end where you have to solve for the base. You're given the amount after it's in, but for now we're just solving for the amount. So here's our computer example. You're buying a new computer that costs $900. The sales tax is 7%. How much money do you need to buy the computer? That's a different question than how much is the sales tax. So the P number here is going to be 100 plus the 7% tax, because that's going to be added to how much you have to pay. So you get 107. So your P over 100 is 107 over 100. And you have the amount you pay, which is going to be bigger than the $900, which is your base. And we are going to solve this one by cross multiplying also. By now that should not be a big surprise. But we get 100A equals 900 times 107. Well, even though I haven't multiplied here yet, if I multiply 9 times 107 and add the two zeros to the end, I'll still have 2 zeros at the end. I can cancel the zeros out here. As long as everything's multiplied, you can do that. So I get A equals 9 times 107. Well, 9 times 100 would be 900. I've got another 7. 9 times 7 would be 63. So I get 900 plus the 63. A is 963. If you needed to set that up longhand to multiply it, that's fine. But the quick way to do it is I know 9 sevens is 63, plus I have hundreds, I get 963. So that's the total cost. That is in dollars. That is the total amount of money you will need to buy this computer. If you only have $900 in the sales tax, you can't buy the computer. So moving on, I want you to try one. This is kind of a practical example. The numbers aren't too nice, but I thought I'd give you a little arithmetic exercise. You and some friends go out to dinner. The bill is $135. You decide to leave an 18% tip. 20% would have been nicer math, but you decided an 18% tip. Your friends couldn't decide between 15 and 20. So what is the total cost of the meal, including tip? I want the total cost of the meal, not just the amount of the tip. Pause the video and try this one, and then return to see the solution. Okay, hopefully you figured out the total bill so you can split it with your friends. And again, I'm going to pretty consistently set these up as A over B equals P over 100. And it's easy to make the mistake of looking at 18 and thinking that's P, but remember, that's what you're going to add to 100% of the bill. So P is 118, and you're putting that on a base bill of $135. The amount with tip should be more than the bill was. That should always be a fact. And again, the proportion lines up. I have 118 is bigger than 100, and the amount I pay should be bigger than the amount of the bill. So I do the cross multiplication, and I get 100A equals 118 times 135. Well, if you set up 118 times 135, you should get 15,930 if you do that arithmetic out. So 100A equals 15,930. You've got a 0 over here. Basically, I'm dividing both sides by 10 when I do that. And I get 10A equals 1593. I want to divide that by 10 to get A alone. And I get 159.3. Since we're dealing in dollars and cents, that is the total amount I need to pay. If you had 4 people going out to dinner, you would divide that by 4. That's a practical thing. And hopefully somebody has a calculator with them when they do this. Okay, now let's move on to the next type of problem. Okay, now here's a new type of problem. In this case, you know the total and want to figure out what the bill was. In some places, when you eat out with a large group, they add the tip to the bill for you, and you want to make sure that it comes out right. So you went out to eat with a large group of friends, and the restaurant automatically added an 18% tip to the bill. If the bill was $248, what was the amount charged before the tip? So again, I'm doing A over B equals P over 100. I have P, let's see, 18% was added. So that's 118 over 100. But this time, I don't know what it was added to, but I know the end, 118%, was $248. So the amount of I was charged was more than the base bill. So it makes sense that the $248 goes on top, because you would not expect them to add the tip and have a smaller amount. You expect that this $248 here is a bigger amount than the original bill. So I cross multiply again. 248 times 100 just gives me 2 zeros at the end. equals 118B. And I divide both sides by 118 to isolate the B. And that is some lousy arithmetic I've given you to do. But when I do 118, I'm not going to do out the long division, goes into 24800. What I get is $210, and it comes out to be 0.16, and this number here is bigger than 5, so I round that up since it's dollars and cents. That becomes $210.17. That should be the amount of food that was on the bill. Maybe food with tax, I didn't account for that, but that's before the tip is added. Okay, so let's take a look at the next situation. This one was different because this time we were solving for B before we've been solving for A. So in the next situation, oh, I did this one out for you already. In the next situation, I want you to try it. I would like you to assume the price of a gallon of gas includes an 8% tax. If the cost of the gas is $4 a gallon, what would the cost be without the tax? So pause the video and try this one. And when you come back, we'll show you the solution. Okay, welcome back. Again, we have A over B equals P over 100. We know that with the 8% tax, so that's 108%, we have that the gallon of gas is $4. So I want to solve this one to find out how much it would cost without the tax. So I get 4 times 100 is 400. I'm doing this. Equals 108B. So I get 400 over 108 equals B. And when I do that arithmetic out and I round to the nearest penny, I get that B is $3.70. Hopefully you set up your ratio like this, your proportions like this, and hopefully this is the equation you solved. And when you do that, you should have got $3.70 when you do the arithmetic out. Okay? So here's the third type of problem we're going to look at. And the problem with this situation is not all of the money involved is involved with the percent. You see what I mean? Example 4. A car salesperson makes a base salary of $2,000 per month plus 5% of the sales made that month. If the person sells $75,000 in cars, how much was the salesperson paid that month? You must read this problem very carefully. If this car salesperson doesn't sell anything, they still make $2,000. Add, in order to get commission, you have to sell cars, and the amount of commission is based on the price, the total sales in cars you make. So the 5% goes with this, but not with the 2,000 in this problem. And that's mostly where students get tangled up in these. So my approach to this is still A over B equals percent over 100. Now the question asks me how much was the salesperson paid that month. This is just going to help me calculate the commission. Once I figure out the commission, I have to add that to what he would get paid even if he didn't sell any cars. So I have the amount of the commission is based on $75,000 in sales, and that equals percent P. In this case, P is simply the 5% over 100. So when I solve that, 100A equals 75,000. Cross up that 0 with that one, that 0 with that one. I get A equals 700. Oh, I didn't multiply by 5. Sorry, this is not this is not 75,000, but if you write your work out like this, your teacher would see where your mistake was. This becomes 5 times 75,000, which is 375,000, but the 2 zeros cancel off with these 2 zeros over here. So that should be 5 times 75,000 should give you 375,000. Divide both sides by 100. You now have A equals 3,750. And if you were that car salesman, you'd want to know how to do this arithmetic to make sure that your boss didn't reduce your paycheck unnecessarily. So that's the amount of the commission, but the salary always includes this first $2,000, even if I don't sell a car. Now clearly there's a benefit to selling the cars, because now my salary is $5,000. I don't know why arithmetic has become suddenly difficult. There we go. So now I get 2,000, I just add the 2 and the 3 and I get $5,750. Okay? So the commission problems, you have to look at this base as a separate item from the percentage. The percentage is only on the sales. And sometimes we turn these problems around backwards on you also, where we tell you how much the person made and ask how many cars they sold. In that case, you would have to take the 5,750, subtract the 2,000, and then know that represented the commission made. And we'll see one of those next. Okay, so here's what I was talking about. A car salesperson makes an annual salary of $28,000 per year plus 3% of the sales made. If the person was paid $35,200, what was the amount of sales made that year? Okay, so no matter what, if this person didn't sell a car, they made $28,000. Now, they might not last the whole year if they weren't selling any cars, granted, but for now, just assume with 0 sales, you make $28,000. So the difference between the $35,200 and the $28,000 was from commission. So first, I have to find the amount of the commission. And the amount of the commission is $35,200 minus $28,000. And that amount is $7,200. That is the amount of the commission. That is the amount this percentage applies to. So amount over base equals P over 100. Because the question is, how many cars did the person have to sell to get this much in commission? So I have 100A. Oh, sorry, I didn't finish setting this up. So I have P is 3. And I know the amount of the commission this time was $7,200. You had to sell a lot more than $7,200 worth of cars to get that amount, so the B is appropriately on the bottom there. And I get 3B equals 7200 with 2 more zeros after it. So B is 72,000 divided by 3. Well, if I do 72 divided by 3, 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract 1, bring down the 2. I get 24. That did that much, so I still have my 4 zeros after it. That is 4 zeros, though it looks like 5. So I have 24, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this salesperson must have sold $240,000 worth of cars in order to make that much money in that year. But the trick to these, again, is you have to take this out of the percentage part. That is given no matter how many cars are sold, so that does not go into this proportion here. Now you try it. It's a very similar problem. If you have not yet paused the video, pause the video. If you have paused the video, welcome back. Hopefully you've tried this problem, and we will go through it and see if our solutions agree. So this time, the person's annual salary, if he sells nothing, is $27,000, but he gets a little more in percentage. So if you're a good salesman, you might like this deal better. If the person is paid $30,000 in a particular year, what amount was the amount of sales made that year? So first of all, the amount of the commission has to be calculated. It was not the whole 30,000. It was not the whole 20,000. The 20,000 was how much you would have made without commission. So you take that out of the calculation about commission. So I get $10,000 in commission. And then I set up A over B equals P over 100. And I get 10,000 over B equals 5 over 100. And I'm going to have a 1 with 6 zeros when I multiply 10,000 times 100. So this is 1,000,000 equals 5B. And when I divide 1,000,000 by 5, I get that this person sold $200,000 worth of cars. Hopefully that's what you got, and if you didn't, hopefully you can find where you went wrong. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in class.